Welcome to Portland, Oregon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first live recording ever of Tom Rhodes Radio Smart Camp.
Wow.
Is that an audience? Are people here? Are people listening? It's an amazing festival, and my guest today is Dante. How do you say your last name?
It's, I don't use it, but it's Rusciolelli. Rusciolelli.
So you're obviously of Italian descent,
yes,
and you were named after the
poet,
poet Dante.
Yep.
So can you recite any Dante?
None of it. I haven't read it. I haven't thought. I don't like to read. I'm not a reader. We listen to everything on books on tape. I'm serious. I've read 1 million books on tape, you guys. I have.
What's your favorite book on tape?
Anything by Stephen King. We are on book 7 of the Dark Tower series, and it's a masterpiece. If you haven't listened to it on tape, you're missing out, Portland. And I know that I shouldn't have said I don't read in Portland, but I love books. I actually will.
I don't like scary things, and I tried to read It and the clowns in the sewer. That was a little too much for me.
See, and I do actually read. I
like the Chucky movies.
Have time. You do?
I don't like horror stuff, but I think the Chucky movies were hilarious.
They are funny, right?
Because he's a little evil doll, and
yeah,
it's hard to
funny.
be afraid of that.
I know. I love those. I'll put those on. My kid thinks it's hilarious. My wife was in one where a doll killed her in a movie. And when my daughter was like 5, she would just rewind it over and over and laugh and laugh. You know, it's a goddamn doll. Who gives a shit? Like, even Rebecca was afraid of It. And when I saw it, I was like, you're afraid of It? It's a clown. He's holding a balloon. What are we afraid of?
It's pretty frightening.
I don't know about this.
Scared the shit out of me.
I don't know. It didn't scare me. It was...
So, Dante, what's your connection with Portland that you would start the festival here?
So we have family in town, and we always wanted to perform here. So we talked to the owner, and so this was 12 years ago, and we became probably the most popular people to play here normal or whatever. The owner was bringing us in 3 times a year instead of once a year. And so it would be like whatever was the slowest date and then the bigger date. So we'd get like New Year's here and then 2 summer dates, you know, beginning summer, end of summer. Let's pack the place, you know. So then it just, we fell in love with the city. We had tried every restaurant and wanted to try it all again. And then we were like, if we're going to do a festival anywhere, it's Portland, because this is our favorite place to come when we perform.
That's awesome. Well, I played here for the first time in April. I got divorced in March. And I fell in love with a woman, one of your citizens,
yes,
ladies and gentlemen, in Portland, Oregon.
In here, you met her the last time
I met her in Harvey's. She was sitting in the front row. She was laughing her ass off. And then I met her right over there in this room. So you will not meet...
A few months ago, you fell in love here.
In April.
Wow.
Yeah, almost 6 months.
Wow.
And the crowd could give a shit. That's great. It's not a pro-love audience here. Okay, well, listen, let's go ahead and drop the big bombshell, the connection that I have with Dante. And I loved you before I met you.
Thanks, man. That's really nice.
My father, very interesting guy. My father is the reason that I'm a stand-up comedian. My father loved Richard Pryor. He had tons of Richard Pryor records. My father flew helicopters in Vietnam. He was shot down. He survived. He had a really dark, twisted sense of humor. My father took me to my first comedy show when I was 11. And the comedian pulled me on stage and interviewed me. It's a story I've told 1 million times. But my father was a very important person in my life. Him and my mother had gotten divorced years ago. My father moved to Los Angeles, and he fancied himself as an actor. And he did a lot of extra work. He's in the movie Nixon in the background, about to ask Nixon a question when Watergate is happening. And my father was a character on a BET show called The Blackberry Inn. And it was a very ethnocentric show, shall we say. And my father played the racist. And his character was Archibald...
McAfee.
Okay.
McAfee.
And so my father played this racist character on this BET show. And it was such an over-the-top character. And Dante played my father's son on the show. So you were like racist junior.
No, I wasn't racist at all. That was the problem. I worked at a black hotel and loved everybody there, and I was sort of like Mad Dog Murdoch.
Oh, so he's like trying to get you to be more racist and stuff.
Well, he just was, you know, I don't think he was no one hated him. He was just like, you know how old people say racist shit, and you're like, God damn. So he was that guy. It wasn't like he was hated, but it was like we needed that character to to counterbalance
Yeah,
me.
no, my father wasn't. I mean, you know, he
wasn't like
he was
that
no
at
more
all.
racist than any white guy.
course,
He grew
no.
up in the 50s.
Yeah, of course not. But anyway, so isn't that a crazy connection? I didn't know that they were related, and I had a sitcom called The Blackberrien, and he wasn't just a character; he was on a lot of episodes. He was
No, he was on-
He was
he
a
was a
star
regular.
of the show.
Yeah.
He was a regular, and
My father was so proud of being on the Blackberrien.
yes, and then one day, I think it was season 2. He says to me, you know, my son's a comedian too. I'm like, what? Took you a year to tell me this? And he says, it's you. And I was like, how did I not put that together? Because I knew who you were, and I knew his last name was Rhodes. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. And then I met you, I think, at the Comedy Store one night. And I said, hey, man, I was on a TV show where your dad played my dad. And I remember you just hugged me. You hugged me, and you're like, man, my dad talked about you. He said you were a great guy, and I've always wanted to meet you. And we hugged, and I was like, man, I think we're gonna be friends forever.
That's why I told you I loved you before I met you. 'Cause,
Yeah,
you know,
man, that
my
was
father
great.
was
He was
killed
a
by a
great-
drunk driver in 2009. So drink up, everybody. Yay! Well, if you'd have cheered love, I would have left that off.
Yeah. Hey,
All
you
right,
guys.
it's a touchy audience. So what's the best story you can tell me about working with my dad on the BET show? The
You know,
Blackberry.
honestly, the best story is just that he probably was so happy he got to meet everybody. If he was a fan of Richard Pryor, then he must have. I didn't know he was a fan of Richard Pryor. Like who wasn't? You know.
Well, my family is originally from Washington, D.C., and my father had a lot of blackness about him, and he would. My father would.
That's how he got on the show, not because he was truly
Yeah.
racist. He was just so
No,
cool.
he was
yeah.
a cool dude.
Everybody loved him.
And
yeah.
my father he would often say to black people when he was hanging out that I'm just passing for white.
I know. I always used to say I'm high
All right.
yellow. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Can I tell you a funny story about my dad?
Yeah.
I think 2003, 2000. I lived in Amsterdam, 2000 to 2004. I moved back to Los Angeles like 2005, and during the Iraq War, they would often grab contractors, these Islamic militants, and they'd make a video, and the nervous contractors reading a statement, sitting at the table, and the hooded people are behind them. And this was like the biggest news of that week. And the guy's name was like Tim Johnson, something like that. And so finally it was announced that they did, in fact, behead Tim Johnson. And we're watching the local Los Angeles news, my father and I, and the newscaster announces that they had killed Tim Johnson. He somberly looks into the camera and he goes, "We'll be right back with the reaction from Tim Johnson's parents." And my father goes, "Tim lost his head before, but it was never anything like this."
Always funny to me. Dark humor kills me.
Dark humor's the best.
Man, do you remember Rerun? Fred Rerun
Yeah,
Barry?
I got my NFL betting tip style from Rerun.
Is that true?
He would only bet on the team
On the
with
TV
pretty,
show? On
yeah,
the TV show?
on the
Yeah.
TV show. He would
Yeah.
bet on the team with the prettiest helmet.
So, when I was famous on BET, I was playing Black Rooms, and he was my opening act for a long, long time.
Wow.
We were really good buddies, but then he passed away, and one comic said, everybody, like thousands of comics are, "I'm so sorry, man, he was the best, I'm so sorry." And then one comic said, "Top 10 list of why I'm happy, Fred Rerun Barry is dead." And
Oh, no.
everything was funny. I mean, and it was like, it made me laugh finally. I passed it around to everyone else who was sad about it, and they were happy. So that's just sort of how comics deal with it, right? We find the dark shit
Amen.
funny.
Yeah. Now you grew up in the desert. You were telling me.
Yeah.
So that's got to be,
Not good at all.
yeah, that's got to be a fertile soil for a twisted, dark sense of humor.
There's nothing good about it, you guys. Like, I grew up in Ridgecrest. Do you know what that is? The place with all the earthquakes lately? It has 1,400 earthquakes a day. That's where I grew up, you guys. I have the opposite of, like, shaking. I'm completely still all the time because I'm so happy not to be moving. But it was just nothing to do. It pure desert. There was like, the movies would take 2 weeks, so you're just waiting for the next one to come out. HBO was barely on
A lot of death metal bands come out of this desert.
They do, man. The same town I came out of is Blink-182. The same guy, same time, man. We were born the same year, same time. We just didn't know each other. We both moved to San Diego at like 12 years old, and then we both moved to LA after that. We had the same exact story. I just went into comedy, but we didn't know each other at all. His name is, I don't know, name some names from Blink-182, I'll tell you.
Why?
It's that guy, yep.
Why didn't they go with Blink 181 or Blink 180? Why?
Right.
Why'd they have to go all
Or
the way to
187.
182?
You know what I mean? Sound a little harder.
So you had a major transformation in your life. You recently lost a lot of weight.
Yep, I lost about 100 pounds within a year, and that was 2 years ago now.
How did you do it?
You guys want to know? He and I have similar stories, and it's going to make people really upset. It's cut out carbs. I'm sorry, it is like booze.
Alcohol.
Booze, yeah.
You stop drinking alcohol.
Well, you don't have to stop, but just you have to remember that has calories. We drink it like, oh, it's just a soda. It's just alcohol. If you added up the calories, it's like having like a super donut every time you have a booze. I don't know how much a beer is, but booze has a lot of.
Cheers,
Fuck it,
friend.
drink up, you guys. I don't care. Who cares?
Well, I stopped drinking 5 years ago, and I stopped doing hard drugs. And the way I used to feel about cocaine is how I now feel about donuts. I mean, I won't go out chasing after it. But if a friend's got a bag, I'll have a taste. Maple bar.
Mark Brazil and Felicia and Jessica walked in with all these boxes for us today. So
Of donuts.
Yeah, if you want those
Portland
donuts.
loves fucking donuts.
Loves it, man. Loves it. I love their donuts. That's why I'm addicted to
Portland,
this place.
donuts and neck tattoos. That's this town.
And street zombies. Love it.
They're
Love it.
actors. They're working on their lines. They're in the neighborhood. They've got a production happening. So I've been dating a woman from Portland, and like any new relationship, a few months ago she asked me if there was anything that I wouldn't do sexually, and I said, yeah, there's one thing. Hey, you guys at the bar, where'd you learn to whisper? In a fucking helicopter? So it's a new relationship. A few months ago, my girlfriend asked me if there was anything I wouldn't do sexually. And I told her, I don't think I would. I never want to be shit on. So I think I'd pretty much be open to anything. I'd be open to anything, but I never want to be shit on. So I was in San Francisco last weekend before I came, and they had the Folsom Street. It's called the Folsom Street Fair, but it's the biggest fetish and leather festival in the United States. And the reason I love Portland is still like subversive and weird and cool. A lot of that's dried up in San Francisco, but the one true weird thing that they have left is this fetish and leather festival.
Yes, they do.
And it was, man, like assless chaps and weird shit. And I took my new girlfriend and we're walking around the fetish and leather festival, and I said, do you remember that list? I told you the one thing I wouldn't want to do sexually. I'd like to add to that list. We walked around, I added like 14 different things I didn't even know existed. I never want to be tied up in Chinese knots and hoisted. I never want to put on a dog mask and be humiliated.
Yeah.
There's like shit I didn't even know were options.
Right, you don't want to lay in the urinal, right?
So, what's the weirdest thing you've ever done sexually?
The weirdest? I don't know what's weird, but I didn't even know pooping on someone was a fucking option. I was like, you scared me when you said this. Sounds like an accident.
I was just fucking with you on the question. I was trying to spark different.
I don't know what's weird. I mean, what is weird? I don't know what's weird to someone.
Well, you grew up.
I like a little finger in my butt.
Hey, who
Is that
doesn't?
weird? I don't mean like a child finger, by the way. I just meant like a woman finger, not like.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like the whole fucking fist or anything. That's why I said little finger.
Well, years ago, I dated a woman who was a butthole licker, and she wouldn't do it all the time. Once in a while, when you least expected it, tongue dart in the anus. And,
I'm down, but don't call it a butthole licker. It ruins
As
everything.
an older man, I would like to give advice to the younger men in this room and tell you sincerely and honestly, you will stay in a bad relationship 2 years longer than you should for a girl who unexpectedly tongues your asshole once in a while. I mean, there's so
Amen, brother.
so many arguments and
fucking
headaches
wrong.
that you will put up with.
So many things you will. That's a nice way to put it.
This is the I
never thought of that.
I should do more live recordings.
You know what I never thought of too? You know how you always, you know what bat winging is? When one ball sticks to one thigh. You know what I mean? Like everywhere you go, this side's like, I'm going to Cracker Barrel too. All right. Have you ever, I'm not joking, you guys. About a week ago when I was high, I was like, I don't think it's ever gone to this thigh, ever, in my whole fucking life. And then I asked people on stage, and everybody's like, no, it has a side. And I was like, which side? Left? And half the guys were like, yes. And I was like, right? And they were like, yes. And then I was like, holy fuck, what happens if you put it over here? And it kind of just stays there. I'm letting you know, but I'm thinking of putting a fucking high-speed camera while I sleep and just watch it clam over at night. Just flat. Just back to the other side slowly.
Like those nature programs when they show like flowers opening, you're gonna do like
yes.
You're gonna do like
right. It's fucking
time lapse.
You'll see clouds going past my window as my balls are slowly moving to the other side. Calendar pages will fly by.
The clock finger spins.
Yes.
That's great. I really love the Cracker Barrel joke that you did.
Oh, thanks, man.
I grew up in the South, and I've traveled all over the South, and I never have heard that.
You know what? I made T-shirts.
It's so funny.
It says Cracker Barrel, where everybody. It says the most aptly named place I have ever been in my life. Everyone there was a cracker the size of a barrel. I was like, wow, way to come up with that name. Aptly named. Aptly.
Brilliant.
Thanks, man.
So, yeah, man, I loved watching you work, and the festival's awesome. How long have you been with Rebecca, and what is the key to longevity? And,
can I tell you guys something? I'm actually madly in love. I don't care if a guy says it or if you guys don't like love. I don't care. I'm madly in love with her. She's madly in love with me, and I'll tell you something. I went through a marriage that wasn't bad, but it wasn't happy. It wasn't like we didn't like each other. We were best friends, but it was like I wasn't getting sex. She probably wasn't getting, you know what I mean? And so when we got divorced, I said to myself, I want 5 things. 5 things. I'm like, I'll never be with a woman because no one could be all these things. I don't ever want to be lied to. That was one of them. I don't ever want you to, and I don't know what a word is for this because power isn't the right word, but I don't give away my mojo to someone else. Meaning, if your girlfriend goes out with her friends this weekend, and she lets a man buy her drinks all weekend just because maybe she wanted drinks, that's sort of like giving away you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's your
it's
trust.
Almost cheating. Yeah,
your trust. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, she would never talk to this man if he wasn't buying, or you know what I mean? So I just want someone to be honest.
What kind of broke women were you going out with?
I know, man. Peoples. So, but here's what I was saying. Like, I didn't want to be lied to. And I also don't like when romance dies, because I think that's what kills a relationship. I feel like we all want something romantic, and we all pretend we want it, and then after 2 years, it's like you're shitting in front of each other and, you know, pooping on each other or whatever. I don't know. Maybe we're not there yet.
Yeah, I think when you start really loudly ripping farts in front of each other, that's when it's over.
It's over. The magic's gone, you guys.
You know, when you're worried about when you're really leaning into those ass flute notes.
Right.
Lifting a cheek.
I guess what I'm saying is, but it's a two-way street, and she told me what she wanted, and we weren't what we wanted, but we both really wanted each other, so we became it. And now, I'm not kidding you guys, we never let that 2-year period die. Like, I still open every door. I buy her flowers every day. She kisses me awake every day and says, Schmoopy. And I say, honey, you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. And it's a beautiful day. I'm serious. Go ask her. That's every day of our life. Because I'm so happy to be with her. Her and my daughter are my whole world. I wouldn't be anything without them.
You guys have a lot of great energy. You're obviously wildly in love with each other, and I think you did a very successful thing with this festival.
Thanks, buddy.
How old is your daughter?
She's 16. She's kind of a jerk because she's 16, but she's also the best kid ever. She's never done one thing wrong, except she's black, Italian, and Jewish, and she's got a mouth on her, is what I'm saying. You know, like, those are all the loud races.
Mashugana.
Right. So my daughter, here's what happened. So there's this song called I Am a Lost Boy. I don't know if you ever... I am a lost boy from Neverland. It's about Peter Pan, and her and Rebecca were singing it in the car one day, and our dog was in there. I was like, this is magical. I'm Peter Pan, and Rebecca looks like, you know, Tinkerbell, and Willow is Wendy, and that's the dog, whatever the dog's name is. So it was my birthday 2 days ago, and I said to Willow, I want to get... I called her. I'm in Portland, baby. I want to get a tattoo. Remember right as I went to the airport, remember the song we were singing? And it's like, I want to get it on my chest. And she goes, Daddy, while you're in Portland, just get it across your head so the gays know you're available. I was like, what? And I was like, okay, it's really funny. I'm very sensitive.
That's funny.
It's all true.
Your daughter
That's
got
not
a better
lie.
laugh than my father.
Yes. She always does stuff like that.
So she's the product of your marriage, or you?
My wife is black and Jewish, my ex-wife, and I'm Italian. And I found out a whole bunch of other stuff. I did the 23andMe, but yeah, she's a product of my last marriage, not Rebecca. But Rebecca ended up with a Jewish daughter, and which is great. So it worked out fine. She doesn't have to poop someone out, or however it works.
Sammy Davis Jr. was Jewish.
He was.
But you have to be come from you have to be born from a Jewish mother to really,
they say, but that's before DNA. It was just.
And I found out that only the Hindus also feel that way. That you're not truly Hindu unless you're born from a Hindu mother. So that would make George Harrison the Sammy Davis Jr. of Hindu.
Is that true? Wow.
Boy, that was a stretch. Yeah, well, what jokes did you fucking bring?
I love that you're heckling them. Everyone's having a great time.
I'm usually much nicer on my podcast. So my podcast is called Tom Rhodes Smart Camp because I like to drop knowledge nuggets and enlighten people's lives with wisdom and laughter. So what are some of you said you don't read? So what are some of the best?
I read. I was just trying to be weird.
What are some of the best knowledge nuggets you can enlighten the audience with?
I can tell you guys a few things if you're interested.
We're interested.
Do you know what the difference between like a carousel and a merry-go-round is? Merry-go-round goes counterclockwise. A carousel goes clockwise. There you go. Now you know. One has certain things, like lambs and unicorns, and the other one's just pure horses.
That's really great.
Anything else you guys want to know?
If you're ever being chased by a crocodile, you should run zigzag because they can only run fast in a straight line.
That is very correct. They can only go fast in a straight line.
It's going to save your life one day, and you're going to go, wow, I was in a lounge and I didn't clap when he said
And
that.
if you're in Florida and you feed an alligator, you could get a ticket. Because if you feed an alligator, humans could become food. That's what this guy kept saying.
I grew up in Orlando, and we have alligators. And then alligators often they eat little kids, and they eat pets, not big ones like small ones, like they get near them, and like what's sad as that sounds, whenever they eat a kid, whenever they interview the parents on the news afterwards, you can always kind of tell why the kid got eaten. Well, Timmy was at the edge of the water poking this alligator with a stick. Oh, yeah, we lost a good one, I'm sure. Surely the space program will suffer. Yeah, we have manatees in the lakes and the rivers, and people use those for ski jumps. It's really exciting. You guys just have Sasquatch, and nobody's ever seen him.
Does anyone even believe in that, please? I have a friend that does, and I'm like, dude, then where's the Sasquatch bones? He's like, different dimensions. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Please shut the fuck up.
It was probably just a Greek guy who went shirtless through the woods once.
Right. He's like, please, I'm trying to take a shit. Opa!
Opa! You guys think it's this monster guy, but he's just like some Greek guy who's trying to cool off on a hot day.
Yeah. He's fucking barefoot, naked and shit. Filming some Greek Naked and Afraid show back in the 60s. And they called him Bigfoot because he was giant fucking feet. But in Greece, he was just Oko Kafata. This is Bigfoot in some fucking language.
Well, like I played in Scotland in June in Inverness, and I went to Loch Ness, and it was a beautiful day, and and it's like I think they came up with that idea. Probably like people in Oregon came up with Bigfoot, like just to get tourists to go there. Hey, a monster. Like, have you ever thought about like shitty foods? They always say like it makes your dick hard. Like I hate oysters, but they go, hey, it makes your dick hard. I think like hundreds of years ago, whoever had a bunch of oysters couldn't sell them. Like, oh man. No, these will make your dick hard. And they're like, oh my God. Then everybody wanted oysters. And like the same is true with like shark's fin any food that they say makes your dick hard, I think it's something that they couldn't sell originally.
Right, of course. It's always buttholes of the tiger or something. I don't know. It's crazy.
The eye of the...
Have you ever seen anything like a ghost or something?
I have seen a ghost. Yeah.
Tell us.
Okay.
Have you already told it on this podcast?
I don't think I ever have told this story on this podcast, but 1996, 1997, I had a sitcom on NBC.
All right. And Mark Brazil was part of it,
Mark
yes?
Brazil was the co-creator of that show.
Wow.
And then that show lasted a year, and then he went on to co-create that 70s show.
He sure did, yeah.
So it's good to finally see that guy again. I'm kidding. He made a lot of money on his next show, is the joke. Anyway, I was going out with it was the girl who was the butthole licker. And she was very argumentative, and it was always like the night before I had to do something really important, like a meeting with executives or whatever. This woman would argue with me till like 4 o'clock in the morning. So we kept breaking up, we kept getting back together, and then finally, like, we had this terrible argument, and I told her to go back to her place, and then I was lying in my bed, and I had fallen asleep, but then I felt my body. It was like somebody was grabbing my arms and shoulders, and they were like shaking me and bouncing me up and down on the bed. And I opened my eyes, and there was nobody there, but I could feel like strong hands shaking me on the fucking bed. And that's my ghost encounter. And then the ghost licked my butthole. That part's a joke. That part was the
You dated
joke.
the ghost?
Yeah, but no, it was really frightening.
I actually believe in ghosts and UFOs. I think everything else
believe
is
in
bullshit.
UFOs.
I do too. I mean, some shit might be real. Like, I don't even know if we're real, you guys. I'm serious. What if we're a computer-generated fucking thing? We might be. What if we're just ants in some kid's aquarium?
No computer could take the shit that I took this morning. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm just saying, we're not computers. I don't believe that. But I do believe...
You made me snort, buddy. That was funny. Oh, man. Shit jokes when you're high are hilarious, you guys.
That's why I do believe in life, and I believe in aliens, definitely. I mean... We're one planet of millions. Why wouldn't there be life in outer space? I think aliens know we're here. They just think we're the Alabama of the universe. And
Can I tell you guys?
They don't come anywhere near us. But anybody who's ever seen an alien, when they describe them, it's always the same person. They always have these big almond eyeballs, and they got like little noses and little ears. I think that aliens are us from the future come back to visit ourselves. I think with our faces in screens and computers, over time we're going to lose our hunting skills. We're going to need them less. So our noses are going to get smaller, and our ears are going to get smaller, and our fucking eyes are going to get big because they got them in screens all the time. And I think aliens are just us come back from the future.
Cool.
What do you think?
Well, I don't know, but I have a real alien story, and the nice part about this one is I had witnesses.
Let's hear it.
I don't talk about it because I don't care. Like, I'm not one of those guys, I saw it. I don't care. So one day I was sitting on the porch with my ex-wife at our house in Winnetka, California, and we're sitting out there, and I look up, and I go, wow, babe, look, you can see a star during the day. I was like, I don't think I've ever seen a star during the day. And she goes, that's not a star, it's a balloon, it's moving. I'm like, oh, it's one of those silver balloons. You're right, it's moving. And then all of a sudden I see another one moving towards it, and another one moving in the same direction, another one, and another one. There's 5. They're all coming and meeting in the center. And then they stop. And it looks like there's 5 stars in the middle of the sky that have all come together. And then they start spinning slowly in a circle. And me and my wife are flipping the fuck out. Now my neighbor walks over, and I'm like, dude, come here. And I say, show him. I'm gonna go get a camera. I run in, I find this video camera. It won't, it's too far away, but whatever. So now he's watching it. Some other neighbor comes over. Now she's watching it. We're watching this happen for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then all of a sudden they stop, and they all went and took off at the exact same time. We thought, oh my God, I'm not kidding, I called the FBI immediately, and here's what I got. Hello, FBI, and I went, sir, I just witnessed, and I don't want to say an unidentified UFO, and he goes, Go ahead. I tell him the whole fucking story, and he goes, you need to call the airport. Talk to the aviation people. I call them. They're like, have you called the FBI? And I was like, yes. And they said, call you. So then I called radio stations. No one else saw it. But I have 4 witnesses who are still all alive that have all seen this.
You might be the Messiah.
I am the Messiah. I'm not joking. That's weird. I am. My wife says I am, so it must be true.
That's pretty awesome, man. I mean, you saw an alien. I saw a ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should get together and have a sitcom. Mark Brazil's here. Someone pitched that guy. Let's make some money.
Are you still doing acting and stuff?
Yeah, but I'm not worried about, I don't really care if I get famous. I've never been worried about that. I just like doing stand-up and being around comedians. I like being a comic, man. I enjoy acting, and I direct movies now. Like, I just directed a movie you guys can check out. It's called Unfallen. I think it's now on Amazon because it's played itself out, but it's a war movie starring myself and Michael Madsen. Do you guys know who he is? He's in tons of Tarantino movies. James Hong is in it. If you guys don't know who James Hong is, I'm one of the only people who does James Hong impressions. I love James Hong. He loves when I do him for him because he says I'm the only person who's ever done it. If you guys don't know who he is, you'll recognize his voice the minute I do it. He's the Asian actor who's been in everything. All right, here it is. So you want to meet the golden child? Why don't you stay home and make noodle like the rest of your family? Yeah, that's him. I had to dub his voice in our movie.
Your impressions are fantastic.
Oh,
like,
thanks,
I love
man.
the ones you did tonight. Like, and it was funny, like because I'm friends with Bob Goldthwait. It was funny. You go, you remember him from the Back to the Future movie? Or,
oh yeah, when I said as a comic and these movies, yeah.
Police Academy.
Police Academy movies, yeah. Yeah, he's great.
No, but so did you start out doing impressions?
You know what?
Did you do impressions?
As a child, I'll be honest. As a child on that base, all I wanted to do was go to Los Angeles and be a comedian. Ever since I was about 6 or 7, I got this kid named Jared McQuarrie. I said, "Hey, buddy, we're gonna be comedians together," and we started doing it at our schools and stuff. What was the question? I don't even remember what you asked.
How did you get into doing impressions?
Oh, impressions.
Did you start when you were
age, I saw Jim Carrey on television. This was back in the 70s. He wasn't famous. He was on some show that Jim Brogan was hosting on Showtime. Jimmy Brogan. And he went up and he started doing like E.T. and he would do the faces and be like, and do all this stuff. And he did on Golden Pond and all these things. And I was like, wow, I've never thought of doing face impressions. So, like, the rest of my life, anytime I could do an impression, I tried to get the face, too. And sometimes I'd be looking in the mirror, and you'd see, like, just a face. You're like, oh, wow, I look like John Lithgow when I pop zit. So I'm like, oh, or something. I don't know. And you just see a face, and then you look at De Niro, and you're like, why? How can I make... And then you're like, you change your face, and then you start looking like him. I don't know. That's how I got started.
How many impressions do you have in your repertoire?
I don't know, because I bet most are terrible. I'm serious. I don't practice them enough. If I did more impressions in my act, I probably can do 100 sort of okay, but excellent if I try. Like I do the Simpsons characters, I'm sure. Smithers, who's that man over there? That's Homer Simpson, sir. He works here in Sector G. Offer him a donut to fuck him in the ass. Donuts do me twice.
The ass is always funny.
Yeah, it's always funny.
If you're thinking about it. That's great.
2 more donuts to take a poop on me. Sexy Flanders.
I only do one impression.
Let's hear it.
I grew up watching Sanford and Son.
Yes.
And Red Fox is one of my all-time heroes. And Red Fox, after he died, a man bought his mansion in Las Vegas. And then about 10 years after he bought the home, the man was selling Red Fox's former mansion because he said that the home was haunted by the ghost of Red Fox. I would love to get some money because I would love to live in the house haunted by the ghost of Red Fox. Boo, dummy. That would be living in the house haunted by the ghost of Red Fox. Boo, dummy.
Boo, dummy. That's hilarious.
I didn't say it was a good impression. I said I had one. And that's why I don't pull it out very often.
I know. Sometimes all I have is like one word. Like I remember when Batman came out, the original with Michael Keaton. In the commercial, there was like the guy hanging upside down. He had just wrapped him up, and he's like, "Who are you?" And I'd always be like, "I'm Batman," because that's it. That's all he did. He kind of smiled and whispered, "I'm Batman." Like there's not much to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Certain people, and then other people like Red Fox, you have to have a gravel to your voice. You know who's a great impressionist? This guy back there. Do you know a comic? Who's the comedian that you do?
Greg Wilson.
Do you know Greg Wilson? Comedian Greg Wilson?
I think so. Is he? No, I don't think so.
Oh, it doesn't. Well, fuck.
Which comic I do the best impression?
Whom?
Yeah.
Chris Fonseca. You know Chris?
No, these guys won't know him. Damn it.
Crazy Legs Fonseca.
I know Crazy Legs. Would you know him if he did him?
And I have the ball.
No, I don't think you could say
I
it.
don't
I don't
think the
think you can
audience
do
would
it. Yeah,
know.
you can't do it.
You gotta get in a wheelchair to do it right.
All right.
Does anybody in the audience have any questions for Dante? Well, what use are you people? I'm kidding.
Are you nervous? or
It's
you
the
just
third
didn't know you
time
were
I
part
turned
of
on
the
this
show?
audience, and you stayed for me. What's the greatest advice you've ever been given as a comedian?
Oh, that's a great question. I would love to share this. So, you know what? I want to answer this with an answer that I forgot to answer earlier. You said, what do you think your dad was enjoying?
Yeah.
And I started to say he loved Richard Pryor. Guess what? Every week our show was an ensemble cast. It was like Taxi, except it was a hotel. And I worked in the hotel as the maintenance man and, whatever. All these other actors were whatever. But every week we had celebrities check into the hotel, and your dad got to work with Richard Pryor.
Shit.
Yes, Richard Pryor made his last appearance on television, not on, Entertainment Tonight waving, whatever. But I'm just saying, like, the last thing he was paid to go do was our
That's
show.
awesome.
Yeah.
My father, I was living in L.A. after I moved back from Amsterdam, 2005, 2006, and it was Richard Pryor's birthday, and he played at the Comedy Store. And I got tickets for my dad and I.
Wow.
And they brought Pryor in on a wheelchair, like two guys, big doormen, lifted Pryor up, and they put him on the stage, and he had really crippled by MS. He could barely hold the microphone, and he talked about, he did a 20-minute set, and 15 minutes of that 20-minute set was about licking pussy.
Yep.
And he could barely hold up the microphone, but it was just great to be in the same room with the man and share molecules with the guy and breathe
he was a comedy
oxygen
god.
particles with this god of comedy. And my father, that was one of the most beautiful. I'd put that up there with taking my dad to Fenway, taking my dad to see Pryor.
You did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So anyway, my best advice, just in life, I will say this, and it's applied, and I'll tell you how it's applied. Pryor, Kinnison, any great person I've ever worked with, maybe not in the exact words, has always said, what's your best piece of advice? And they say, have fun. Have fun at what you do, because if you don't, move on to the thing that you do have fun at. Because as a comic, if you go see a comic up there having fun, you're going to have fun. That's right. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
When they won the World Series, the Cubs, I don't know if you guys remember, but at the end of the game, they went, you guys were losing, when we went back in there for the 7th inning stretch, blah, blah, blah. You came out, you were monsters. What happened? And the guy goes, I went in there and I was like, guys, we're losing. It doesn't matter. We're in the World Series. Let's go play the game we love. Let's go have fun. He goes, the minute we all came out with that attitude, we won.
Wow.
Yeah, and I pointed to my wife. I'm like, there it is again. Those guys just said it. And then we were watching something else, and the guy was like, yeah, the key is have fun. Any great I've ever listened to, Michael Jordan has said it. That's the key to being great, is having fun.
That's great advice. I've always said that there's nothing harder than to watch a bitter comedian on stage.
Nothing harder. It's the worst.
And it's we all have our moments in life, but I think that's great advice.
Yeah. What about you? What's your big piece of advice?
When I was younger, I was told, tell them the joke, show them the joke. If you act out a joke, it's 1,000 times funnier than if you just stand there and say it, and including acting with your face. So what you just said was right on that. And then this guy Jim Wiggins, I
remember Jimmy
Wiggins. He was the
Wiggins.
oldest hippie.
Yeah, man,
He was
I
from
loved him.
Chicago. And I was really young, in my early 20s, and I was doing the Southern circuits, and I used to work with this guy all the time. And I was trying to be an edgy comedian, and I would go out and do like a really rough joke out front, and then he would say, you can't do that. My father was a salesman, and he would say, they'll buy from a friend before they will a stranger. That's other great advice. Like, you can do rough, hard-edged stuff, but you got to win the audience over. You got to make friends with them first. But Jim Wiggins' version of that advice was when he goes, kid, you don't go out, you want to have sex with a girl. You don't just rip her pants off. You got to rub her clit. Rub her clit first. So, like, I would work with this guy on these southern gigs, and every night before I would go on stage, he would just look at me and go, rub their clits. So, yeah.
You know what, man? That dude's a great guy. My first comedy festival I ever went to, and now I'm producing the Portland one. First one I ever went to was the Vegas one, and he got up late night, and all the comics were listening to him. And the best piece of advice, one of the best I ever heard someone give is he said, comics, you're all responsible for the next generation. You go out there, and if someone wants advice, you fucking give it to them. If
Amen.
a young comic comes up to you, it's your duty to answer their questions and help them out. And we all, it changed me that day. I'm not kidding. I already felt like that, but I was like, it was nice to hear someone else preaching it,
I like that's beautiful. That we're all responsible for the next generation.
We are.
I think that's brilliant. I get burned on that all the time where I think, oh man, we're the brotherhood, comedians and sisterhood, and a lot of people don't have that attitude that they would step on anyone's face to get higher.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't care about any of that. Like, I manage celebrities. I forget about that. Like, half the time I wake up, I'm like, I don't remember.
Who do you
what
manage?
I manage Ron Jeremy.
Oh, that's why he tweeted. Oh my God, that's another connection we have. Let's talk about Ron Jeremy.
I manage a lot of celebrities. I'm not managing porn people, just so you know. I put him in movies and TV shows and on whatever. Yeah, I manage his giant dick, but whatever. All right. But lots of people.
Ron Jeremy, I had a late night talk show in Amsterdam. Ron Jeremy was a guest.
He was?
On my late night. He was on. It was the last episode.
Was it to promote his rum?
No,
He has rum, you guys. He has a very big rum. It's like third in Europe. It's the third biggest rum.
No, so this was like 15 years ago, so I don't think he had alcohol.
I don't think so. No, not back then.
So I had him on with my mother. Ron Jeremy sitting next to my mom. Hilarious. Mom, are you familiar with Mr. Jeremy's work? Anyway, after the show, Ron Jeremy is a really super sweet guy. And he invited my mother and I to dinner. And like, you see, he's really this wonderful, sweet guy. You're nodding because you know that.
He is.
And
and super smart.
You forget, you're sitting there talking to the guy, and you forget that he's come on thousands of women's faces, and he's like being nice to my mom, and I'm thinking, wow, I've seen this guy suck his own dick, and he's just like asking my mom about Argentina, where she's from, and he's a really, really sweet guy.
He sure the fuck is. He's a nice guy. He's a nice guy.
Maybe Ron Jeremy went shirtless, and that's who you think was Sasquatch.
And those were just dick prints?
That's great. We were good together.
Yeah, we're a good team, buddy.
So who else do you manage?
I don't know. There's lots of them. I could look.
How did you meet Ron Jeremy?
I actually met him when I was working with Kinnison. I don't want to say working. I was a new comic to LA. I'd already been doing it like 6 or 7 years. But when I turned 21, I moved to LA, and he took me under his wings because he had known me as a doorman down in San Diego. So when I moved up, he was real nice to me. And Ron Jeremy was hanging out with him because Ron actually started doing stand-up in the 70s. He came in second place in a comedy contest in the 70s to Andrew Dice Clay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ron Jeremy made, it used to be the Crackers in Tampa. I'm sorry, not Crackers. It's called Side Splitters.
Yep.
They had this really skanky condo, and everybody called it the Protein Palace because so many comedians had jacked off in this place. But there was a VHS porno tape that Ron Jeremy made where he's a stand-up comedian.
Yep.
And so it was a porno that all takes place in a comedy club.
I'm in it.
Are you really?
I swear to God, that's so funny that you brought that up.
So, like,
I'm in
he's
one porno in my whole
on,
life.
Like, the comedian's on stage, and then, like, there's a couple in a booth, and then she starts blowing the guy.
Yes.
It was like...
Listen, I'm the part... People used to come up to me back in the 90s when I was in this and come up to me and go... I saw you in a porno. I'm like, that's the part you're supposed to fast forward through, you fucking sicko. What the fuck were you looking at me for, jackass? So what it was Ron came to me one day. So Ron, I got introduced to Ron through Sam, and then Ron introduced me to Corey Feldman, who had these Wednesday night poker parties, and we were like the same age. He's maybe like 2 years older, but I couldn't wait to go play poker at Corey Feldman's house with Ron Jeremy and Scott Schwartz, who's the kid who gets his tongue stuck in the Christmas Story.
Oh, I love that
All
movie.
these celebrities, and I just moved there from fucking Dirtsville, Ridgecrest, and thank God I came from San Diego and all that. But so anyway, so Ron says to me, Dante, I want you to stand up in a porn. And so I hire some other comedian, Steve Pearl, some other, I don't know. So we do it, and I'm headlining, but in it, I guess we all wanted to stay and watch the porn, but they only filmed us like in a room like this, and all the porn stars were sitting there, clapping and stuff. But I guess you're right. Yeah, Ron would come in here, host the show, and then go fuck the bartendress or something.
Yeah. So maybe you were the comedian on stage. When
I was.
The girl
You were
blows
watching.
the guy in the booth and stuff.
No, yes, that is me. That's
Wow.
me. I'm that guy that you were
my
watching.
God.
Yeah.
Wow. So what are your other secret claims to fame? I mean, that was a gem that you weren't going to tell us.
I know. I'm the only warm-up comedian for movies. Like, movies don't have warm. What are you talking about? What I mean is, when you film a TV show, they hire comedians to warm it up. When a movie has like 10,000 extras, they only pay about 100 of them. So they bring me in for the week at a stadium where they're filming like Spider-Man or Batman Returns. I've done like 100 A-list movies.
Cool.
I go in with a giant God mic. I speak to the stadium, and I give away cars. I give away prizes. I give it, and then I take these guys to lunch in the back so that everybody can reset up for things. I'm their liaison on movies.
Wow.
I'm the only person who does it for a job. It's kind of weird, yeah.
So like when there's thousands of people waiting for a shot, you're like keeping them entertained.
I'm keeping them entertained. I'll do my impressions, and I get them to perform to each other. I've done it for if I named 100 movies, you guys would know every single one of them.
Who is the most magnanimous person in film acting you've ever met, and who was the most petty jerk?
Okay, so I think I've met most people, and I think probably the nicest guy, and I was so glad he was, and I've met him multiple times, and I worked on his movies too, is Adam Sandler. He's just how he acts in movies. He's so genuine and nice, and if you've ever seen his movies, he's always putting his friends in it, and that's how I want to be. I just want to be surrounded by good people and good friends, and that's how I run stuff too at my company. And the worst is probably Tommy Lee Jones. He dicked me over on a movie set one time. We were working on a shitty movie called, Man of the House. Maybe that's the only, I lied to you guys. You won't recognize every movie I worked on. There was one called Man of the House with him and Cedric the Entertainer. We were filming it in Texas. I was on set the whole week. Every day I'm like, hey guys, Tommy Lee Jones. And we're sharing a mic and having fun. Last day, and no one had cameras back then. This was 10 years ago or 12 years ago. I don't know, a long time. Anyway, no one had cameras on them, so I gave my shitty little camera to my assistant, and I was like, hey man, Tommy Lee Jones is done for the week. He's about to walk past us. Ask him for a picture. I'll ask him for a picture, and when he turns around, just snap it so he can leave. So Tommy's coming. I go, hey Tommy, it's your last day. It was fun working with you. Can I get a picture? And he walks past me and goes, no. And doesn't even look at me and just keeps walking. And then I told my mom about it, and now, anytime I'm like, could you pass the salt? And she's like, no. So they just think it's hilarious.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Shaquille O'Neal had been a dick to me once.
What?
And my girlfriend, she came to visit me in Los Angeles a few weeks ago, and Shaquille O'Neal was doing some charity thing at the Grove, and she's like a basketball fan. She's like, oh my God, Shaquille O'Neal. And then I told her he was like a dick to me once.
Can I tell? I'm gonna whisper to him a famous comedian's name, and then I'll tell you guys what he did.
Oh, wow. I'd love to hear this story.
Okay, so me and a guy named Earthquake are standing at the Comedy Store in the driveway speaking. We're not in the driveway. There's plenty of room to get by, but we're near the driveway. Earthquake's a great comedian. We're just talking, and all of a sudden this sports car pulls up, and a honk, bah, bah, bah. Get the fuck out of the way! Get the fuck out of the way!
At the Comedy Store?
At the Comedy Store.
Wow.
We turn around, and he goes, oh, Dante, Earthquake. Oh, shit. I just thought you were regular people. Sorry. And he drove in. And then Earthquake looks at me and goes, oh, so it's okay if we were just regular people. And I was like, I got his number.
Wow, and that's a guy who's filling arenas now and making millions and millions of dollars.
You're correct. Yeah.
Whenever I would, like back when I had my...
that was before, by the way. Before he's filling arenas.
Wow,
this
no
was
shit.
Good 10 years ago.
So years ago, when I was doing a lot of television and stuff, I would often ride in limousines that networks would pay for. And I would always ask the limousine drivers, who was the biggest dick that you ever drove? And I think about 3 of them said that Kenny Rogers
Really?
was the biggest dick. You weren't allowed to talk to him. You couldn't. It's always great when you hear people having a better time in the next room.
Well, they're not talking about Kenny Rogers in that fucking room.
But that's why I think the 3 drivers tell me that Kenny Rogers was the biggest dick they ever met makes this story all the more sweeter. I heard that, like a lot of wealthy Arab oil sheiks, like they'll pay like Mariah Carey like $1 million to come and perform in their living room. I don't know if you guys know this, but this happens.
It's true. Yep.
Beyonce has been paid $10 million to like perform in whatever oil sheik's place in Saudi Arabia. It happens all the time. So the story that I heard, Kenny Rogers, some very wealthy Arabic oil sheik guy, flew Kenny Rogers over, and he loved the song "The Gambler." And it was his favorite song, and he paid Kenny Rogers like whatever, $2 million or whatever to fly to the guy's house and perform in his house. So Kenny Rogers does The Gambler, and then he goes on to like another song, and the dude's going, no, The Gambler. All he wanted to hear was The Gambler. And so like Kenny Rogers fucking plays The Gambler one more time. You gotta know when to hold 'em, know when to hold 'em. And then like he finishes it, and then he wants to go on to another song, and then the guy's like, no, The Gambler. And he was paying his check, so he had to
Why wouldn't you? Yeah.
keep doing The Gambler over
God
and
damn.
over. So, that's
Thank
it.
God. That's
karma
great
for
karma.
being a dick to all those limo drivers.
Yeah, fuck that guy. I don't know.
Is there any other celebrity you'd like to throw under the bus? Like my father said he named me Tom because he said he never met a Tom he didn't like. So I'm glad that his name is Tommy now and not Tom. So what a dick.
Right?
Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, that son of a
In
gun.
those terrible movies.
I know. I don't know. Most people are pretty nice. People change over time. Like people, I've noticed people get weirder with fame or they stay the same. Some people get nasty and crazy, like we all see, and then other people, they were normal to begin with.
Yeah, it's not what fame does to you; it's what fame does to the people around you. I mean,
That's
we've
true
all heard
too.
that,
That's all
and,
true.
I had a lot of people with their hands out. Like my 2 older brothers are staunch Republicans, and it's funny how against socialism they are, because anytime I ever had any money, they insisted on having some of it.
Why don't we share?
Very true.
Let's be communal for a while.
Yeah. So what are some other undiscovered pleasantries about Dante that the world should know?
Oh man, I'll tell you what I actually love to do. I love to be around my wife and daughter, and I love to be around our dogs, and I love to make ponds in my yard and put up plants everywhere. I have 2 yards, and I made it look like Hawaii back there, and I have
Where do you
ponds.
live?
I live in Hollywood, right on a corner. So
you
it's
got
like
2 ponds in Hollywood?
I have a house with a front and I know, man, it's a nice,
Oh.
yeah. So, but here's the thing. I live in Hollywood where you step outside and there's poop on the street. But
Yeah.
you walk into my paradise and there's turtles and frogs and fish and oxygen. Like there's a rainforest in my yard. I love it. I sit out there all day. That's what I'm into. It's just hanging out with my family in my yard and, I don't know, smoking marijuana. Maybe falling asleep.
So your daughter goes to high school in Hollywood?
No, she lives in the mountains with her mom in La
Oh, okay.
Cañada.
That's much more nicer.
Yeah. It's way better schools up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any? What's your favorite street joke?
My favorite street joke. I don't know why this. All right. Maybe it's not funny to you guys, but for some reason it always makes me laugh. There's a magician. Okay? And the magician says, I need an assistant. So this guy volunteers. He comes up to the stage, and it's packed. It's in Vegas. And the guy says, go up to the top of the ladder, buddy. So the guy goes up to the top of the ladder, and he hands him a bowling ball. He says, hold the bowling ball. And the bowling ball's real. And he goes, check it, make sure it's real. He goes, yeah, it's real. So he stands underneath him. He goes, I want you to hold that up as higher over your head and drop it on my head. And he goes, I can't do that. He goes, I'm a magician, just do it. He goes, sir, I'd like to get off this thing. He goes, just do it. He drops it, cracks the magician's head open. He goes to the hospital. The man feels so bad, he sits there for 6 months next to his side. And then one day, the magician's finger starts to move, and his eyes flutter. And he opens his eyes, and he looks over, and the man's sitting in his hospital room, and he turns to him, and he goes, ta-da!
That's a great joke.
That's funny, right? What's yours?
My favorite joke is there's a door-to-door salesman going door-to-door selling some shit. And he knocks on this door of this house, and this 5-year-old boy answers the door, and he's dressed immaculately. He's got a 3-piece suit on, a fedora hat, 5-year-old boy. He's standing there, he's got a burning cigar in his left hand, and he has a snifter of brandy in his right hand. And the door-to-door salesman looks down at him and he goes, little boy, is your mother home? And the little boy looks at him and he goes, does it look like my fucking mother's home?
That's great. That's a good one.
That's a great one. What's your favorite? I think everybody should have at least one joke to make a little kid laugh. So
I have my favorite little kid joke.
What is your best little kid joke?
My favorite one I used to teach my daughter to say, well, she had two. One wasn't a joke. One I just said, I would bring her in front of adults and go, Willow, if someone ever offers you candy in a van, what do you say? And she'd go, I will ask if they have Reese's first. And I was like, good girl. That was when she was a child. So, but her favorite joke, which became my favorite, was 2 flies are sitting on a piece of poop. One fly farts, and the other one goes, come on, buddy, I'm trying to eat over here.
That's a little filthy for a children's joke.
Kids love it. They love it so much. There's poop involved. It's crazy.
That's great.
That's what 5-year-olds like.
Come on, buddy, I'm trying to eat.
Come on, buddy, I'm trying to eat over here.
That's great.
What's your favorite kid's joke?
What did the snail say who was riding on top of the turtle?
What?
Whee! All right, you guys are going to be cracking these kids up in the Portland area with these jokes. So Dante, it's been an absolute pleasure.
I've loved this. Thank you.
Man, I got nothing but love for you. I'm the connection with my father.
Yeah, your dad was great.
That you
buddy.
worked with him. Thanks, man. It's really cool that you knew my father.
He was so cool. I'm so happy.
And I'm really proud of you for doing this festival.
Oh, thanks, man. My wife and Brittany Mortal Chardon did all of this. I can't take too much credit. I was just there at meetings going, okay, how much is it going to cost us? No, don't, what the? That was me the whole time. But I got here and they did it. Look at everything is just perfect. These two.
Oh my God, you guys
incredible.
have banners made.
Banners, we had everything made. T-shirts. I mean, these two. We wouldn't have a Portland Comedy Festival without Rebecca Coach and Brittany.
Well, I think you guys really did a great job, and Harvey's is my new favorite club.
Me too.
Now
I love it.
Harvey's is amazing. I fell in love in this room, and and then the audiences are. I mean, I love Portland. People aren't too touchy and uptight about shit
but
here.
Especially at Harvey's, it's some of the best audiences in the world. I'm serious. Right here, I'm not joking. If I had to, I'm saying it on his podcast. My 2 favorite cities to perform in are here and Dallas. I'm serious. But Dallas, Fort Worth, that whole area. But
yeah.
But Portland is probably it for me because I'm a foodie and this city is just like.
Oh my God!
It's romantic
here.
here. I love
Incredible.
everything about this city. I'm serious. I love it. So.
Did you? What's that? The Thai restaurant on? It's in an old house here.
What is that?
You know what I'm talking about?
Anybody?
What street is that on? Oh my God! You got to go. It's really cool. It's run by an old couple. All right, nobody knows. Well, in closing, is there any words of advice or wisdom that you'd like to give to the people of the earth?
Yes, I would actually, you guys. I think I have figured out the key to life. I'm serious. You want to hear it?
Yes, sir.
I have it tattooed on me and I write it on walls everywhere. Love, health, happiness, safety, and freedom. Love, health, happiness, safety, freedom. If you have all 5, I think you're going to have a pretty great life. If one of them's out of whack, you don't feel happy. If your freedom is taken away from you, maybe you're trapped at an airport, you're not happy. If your love isn't near you, you're not happy. Love, health, happiness, safety, freedom. It's right here. Remember that, you guys. Those 5 things, I promise you, organize your life towards those 5 and you'll have a happier life. I feel like the happiest man alive. I do. I'm the happiest man alive. And I'm not a rich man, you guys. I only live in that nice house because I got lucky. I'm serious. Like, we're just happy because love is my wealth. I'm the luckiest. I'm serious.
You're a beautiful man, Dante, and it's an honor to finally have you on my podcast.
Thanks, buddy. I love you.
Everybody give Dante a big round of applause.
Thank you. Thanks, you guys.
Respect,
what a
my brother.
podcast. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I'm
and
glad we're
Portland,
friends.
give yourselves a round of applause. Keep those donuts coming, and thank you for being Portland.
Oh, cool. And guess what? One more thing. Oregon Canagar, they're going to give you a present.
Wait. We got it. This is a commercial for Oregon Canagar. This guy gave, they've been passing these around to the comedians. They're rose petal cannabis cigars. So they're actually, they're like big fat weed joints rolled in rose petals. And in the Rose City, I think that's pretty pimp. Yeah,
that
look,
is
there's
so
one right
pimp,
there.
you guys.
I went to the Rose Garden.
There's no paper. It's rose petals.
It's rose petals. I went to the Rose Garden today, and there were a lot of...
They're right there, by the way.
There were a lot of rosebuds missing. So these guys are out there grabbing the roses. They're rolling weed with it.
We'll beat them up. They're right over there. I just pointed them out.
They're enterprising. Yeah, thank you for the rose weed cigars, guys. And everybody... try and stay away from cops, snakes, and exposed electricity. Shalom, amigos y amigas. Long may you run.
That was great, man.
It's fun to riff.
I love it.
That's really great.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Tom Rhodes, you're a funny man. Tom Rhodes, you're an international comedian. Tom Rhodes, karate kick, baby, oh yeah. Tom Rhodes, you're a groovy dude. You go all around the world, telling jokes to all of the people. You are an international comedian. You're funny to everybody in every single country in the world. Tom Rhodes, I like you very much. I think you're talented and very wonderful. Tom Rhodes, you're the best guy in the world. I wanna be your friend, you should call me sometime. Here is my phone number, 603-644-0048. Yeah. Tom Rhodes, you're an international comedic sensation. Tom Rhodes, I like to listen to your podcast. Tom Rhodes, you're the best man to ever walk on the earth.